everyone. This is Professor Benjamin, and welcome to Session 7 of this class, Air Pollution. So along with Section 7 is always the midterm exam. So right down here, you'll see this is the midterm exam. It's in a different portal. You'll also see a little note here that says see sustainability session for a review and a walkthrough. So you want to make sure you scroll back up to the sustainability session, which was Session 5, and it is a review for the midterm. So all the questions that you will have on the midterm exam are actually on this review sheet. And then we have a walkthrough video, and the walkthrough video tells you about all of the questions and what my expectations are, etc. So make sure you take a look at those items. So Session 7 of this air pollution is, here is a description along with the chapter reading, and it's chapter 6 of the OER textbook. So here's the OER textbook. Chapter 6 is air. And then you have your PowerPoint presentation here. And then in this session, we're going to talk about the ozone layer. So that's something really specific and important for us to understand and know about. We're also going to talk about indoor and outdoor air pollution and the difference between the two. Indoor air pollution actually has become a massive factor or a major issue in the past probably 20 years. And one of the reasons for that is we've actually become more energy efficient. And I know this is so hypocritical in terms of the environment, but our houses have become a lot more energy efficient, meaning we have better windows, we have different types of heaters or air conditioning units, etc. And a lot of this actually recirculates air. And in the case of like Legionnaire's disease, which was actually happened in Philadelphia, it was at a Legion's conference and individuals became ill and individuals also died. And that was because they had a closed loop system and the air, there was bacteria in the air, and then it kind of just circulated its way around into that building. Same thing happens on cruise ships, right? And on airplanes. And that's why during the COVID situation, air travel as well as cruise travel is really high, is not recommended for individuals, especially individuals that have a compromised immune system, because they're recirculating air, and it becomes an issue. And we have some of the same issues at Community College of Philadelphia, is that while our CBI building is really energy efficient, we recirculate air in that building. We also have to be careful, and that's why one of the reasons that we didn't open is because we have to look at our air systems and our air handling systems and look at how viruses and bacteria travel within those systems. So indoor air pollution has become a major issue. Also, we have stepped up our consumption game, right? And a lot of the products that we consume from other countries do not meet the same environmental standards that U.S. would technically have, and those prices of those items would have been higher. So instead, some of the items we bring in our house are of not cheaper quality. Well, yeah, actually cheaper quality, but they might contain pollutants that would be technically illegal in the United States. So VOCs, volatile organic compounds, and this is a big issue in rugs, in furniture, is they give off that smell, that new car smell too. They're all VOCs, and when we breathe them in, we can exacerbate a lot of our immune diseases or even asthma. So we have to look at those. So for example, Clorox and Lysol wipes, while they've become a real hot commodity during the COVID situation, they actually exacerbate individuals that have asthma. And if you look at the warning labels on them, you have to be really careful about who you use Lysol wipes or Clorox wipes around. So take note to that. We burn a lot of candles, right? Candles have VOCs in them. We use a lot of smelly soaps and a lot of smelly things in our house, right? Febreze, all of the Swiffer mops that we use, all those perfumes they add to make your house smell better are VOCs, and we're constantly breathing them in. Now, typically, if you have your windows open, some of the air circulation happens, but with these more efficient windows, it traps it inside. So indoor air pollution can definitely be more deadly than outdoor air pollution. Also in this session, of course, we're going to talk about air pollution. So we're going to talk about what air quality is, what air pollution is, and we talk about the layers of the stratosphere and how they're developed, and we talk about the chemistry of the atmosphere, but also how pollution, if we can kind of course, limit air pollution. And one of the ways we could do that is by driving more efficient vehicles, right? miles per gallon. But we also can ride our bikes. And during COVID, that's been another hot commodity item, which has been actually bike travel. So you can't really find bikes in a lot of the stores, a lot of the box stores, because people realized, oh, I could ride my bike to places. And bikes became really, really popular. And if you didn't notice, cars were kind of taken off the road during COVID. And there were a lot of really great articles on how the emission levels within cities and other locations completely dropped. Air quality cleaned up in a lot of areas because people stopped driving. And so that's something to think about. So I have 2 articles here about the Philly Bike Share program. And of course, right outside of Community College of Philadelphia, we have a bike share holding area, right? A lot of times the bikes are gone from there, but there are popping up more and more throughout the city are the bike share. So I want to, of course, talk about the bike share. Also, Roundup. So this is another issue with air pollution is, of course, pesticide use. And Roundup is definitely an issue. It's owned by Monsanto. And Roundup actually has been factually known now to cause cancer. And there's been a lot of lawsuits recently about Roundup. Now, I know it's a household product. A lot of people have it, but please, if you can do anything, there are a lot of organic recipes out there instead of using Roundup to kill weeds like in front of your house, etc. Roundup, if you are using Roundup, you need to be super careful with how you use it. It definitely can cause cancer. And there have been lawsuits, and recently a lot of individuals have won lawsuits against Roundup, Monsanto, because Roundup is known to cause cancer, and they've known that for a really long time. And also, you're going to talk about asbestos too. So asbestos is another issue, another airborne issue. It's not. Remember, asbestos was found in a lot of siding. It contains heat really well, so it like holds heat really well. So when I was little, there was a lot of asbestos in fiberglass kind of material in insulation. And when you would come out, you'd be itching, right? It was like the Pink Panther, and you'd be itching, right? Because there's pieces of glass in it, and it actually makes you itch. So asbestos, we didn't know the health effects of this, but mesothelioma is caused by asbestos exposure, meaning that if you've been exposed to asbestos, you very well could have irritation of the lungs, and then that leads to mesothelioma. So what happens is those little tiny glass fibers that are within the insulation get into your lungs. And then when you cough, those pieces rub up and down and they cause bleeding in your lungs. And then a lot of times individuals with mesothelioma wind up coughing up blood. So if you know someone who has mesothelioma because of asbestos, you're probably aware of this situation. But in Manville, New Jersey, there was an entire plant, and they used to actually, at Christmas time, they would spray it as if it was fake snow. And all of the people, this town was created around this asbestos manufacturing plant because asbestos was so popular. It was banned in the 70s, but it was super popular. And then what happened is that people would throw it up. It was like fake snow. And all of these individuals were exposed to asbestos, and there's a huge high rate of mesothelioma in that area. Right now, that area, that plant, and the surrounding areas are under a Superfund site, meaning that no one can build on that area because it's completely contaminated by asbestos. Now, I have asbestos shingles on my home. A lot of you may have asbestos shingles or lead paint. That's a whole nother issue, but I have asbestos shingles, and if I were to remove those shingles, a special company would have to come and bag it up and get rid of it so that the individuals, if one of those shingles breaks, that goes into the atmosphere. So asbestos cleanup is really expensive, but asbestos shingles and asbestos laced insulation really do keep your house warm, and that's why it was used. So these are just things that you're going to talk about in this air pollution chapter. We'll talk about radon too, because in Pennsylvania, radon is a big deal, and that is a natural gas that occurs in the rock bed. And if you have a basement, when you go to sell or buy a home, you need to make sure that there's a radon test done. And a lot of times what happens is if the air is trapped in your basement, it can lead to this radioactive material radon, and it's actually cancer causing. So I know when I sold my house in Philadelphia, we had to have a radon test done. The buyer asked for a radon test, and they detected radon in our basement. So what we had to do is put a blower in our basement out the window so that air circulation happened. It cost us money, though, the seller, to sell our house. It cost us money to do that. But of course, it was either the sale or not the sale. So that was something that we had to do. But we did have radon in the city of Philadelphia in our basement of a row home. So it's something, and I'm sure everyone in that row has it too. So you want to think about radon, but we'll talk about that in the session too. So I hope you enjoyed this session. The biggest deal this week is you have an initial post due by Wednesday, response post due by Friday. But make sure you also take your midterm exam. Remember, there's no makeups. You get one chance to take it. You're given all the questions. You're given a review for it. So please do not mess up on the midterm exam. So initial post due by Wednesday, response post due by Friday. And then usually during this time, you'll also have your midterm exam. So your midterm exam will be due by Sunday, 11:59. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you enjoy air pollution in this session. There's a lot to cover, and I think you'll be interested in a lot of the material within this session. Have a good week.